After 7 years of development, RockStar Games finally released their third installment in the Red Dead series, following Red Dead Revolver from 2004 and the very successful Red Dead Redemption from 2010. Red Dead Redemption had managed to forge an identity of its own despite having many similarities to RockStar's main franchise, the Grand Theft Auto series, and although also sharing the satirical and comical touches that Grand Theft Auto is renowned for, Red Dead Redemption's atmosphere proved to be darker and more serious. Red Dead Redemption 2 has managed to break many expectations. Firstly, it isn't a sequel, rather a prequel to the events within Red Dead Redemption. Secondly, although it does include the main protagonist from Red Dead Redemption, John Marston, RockStar decided to focus on a new protagonist instead, Arthur Morgan. This was a risky move, as for many players it was the character of John Marston that had made Red Dead Redemption the game that it is. Thirdly, although there is humour in Red Dead Redemption 2, the tone is unequivocally darker and more serious than any previous RockStar game. A stark contrast to Grand Theft Auto 5 with its often over-the-top flamboyancy. The game makes it clear from the very beginning that this isn't a satirical take on contemporary culture, but a glimpse into the past, a period when the civilization of the eastern United States finally engulfed the western United States. There have been many great game releases this generation which are or will be reviewed on this channel, but in replaying Red Dead Redemption 2 for this review, it once again became apparent that despite excellent releases such as Horizon Zero Dawn, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, The Witcher 3 and many more, this game has, in terms of cinematic storytelling, raised the bar in a way that we have not seen since The Last of Us. Yet Red Dead Redemption 2's greatest strength also proves to be its Achilles heel, but more on that later. The game is certainly without a doubt one of the most spectacular and magnificent looking games of all time. The gorgeous varying landscapes in and around the fictional state of New Hanover are at times as close to photorealistic as any game has managed to convey this generation, and the game is certainly a glimpse into what we can expect from the rapidly encroaching new generation of consoles and games. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this experience, though, is how it deliberately urges and at times forces you to slow down. The way in which game systems such as having to eat, set up camp, hunt animals, clean your equipment and care for your horse all serve to slow the player down enough so that they actually take stock of the amazing environments and features that are so densely packed into a sizable open world, rather than rushing through everything and maybe missing more than they should. Of course, at times there is real pace injected into the game, either through the intricately and masterfully crafted story missions or through the player's own actions and initiative, such as outrunning bounty hunters, or tracking down a bounty, or hijacking a train, or attempting a daring bank robbery, or hunting a rare and particularly dangerous animal, to name just a few of the numerous activities that players can get involved in. As with some of the great RPGs, after the initial prologue training session, players have complete freedom between exploration and embarking on main and side missions as they see fit. One of the strongest features of the game is the character-to-character interaction, whether in a cutscene.
I need you to... I'm sorry to ask, but...
It's little John. He's got himself caught into a scrape again.
He ain't been seen in 2...
Or from the characters that you will encounter on your travels throughout the world.
Sure.
Glad I ran into you. Huh. I raised that horse, you know. Raised it since it was just a...
The soundtrack also fits like a glove, using authentic musical ideas from American Western music with influences from great Western film scores, and really helps the player feel that they are involved in an epic Western. But for all of its greatness, the game is not without its flaws. Although the gameplay is markedly better than that within Red Dead Redemption, the physics concerning weight and movement can often mean that when you want to move Arthur Morgan ever so slightly, for example to pick up an item, it can be difficult to do so. Sometimes the simulation of weight and momentum can lead to some unintentional and completely hilarious moments, such as crashing into things or tripping over things, but more often than not, this proves to be extremely frustrating. More markedly, though, is what foundationally is an extension beyond the incredible single-player experience, Red Dead Online, which is unfortunately cursed with a real money microtransaction element that has left a parting sour taste for many players eager to continue their adventures in RockStar's phenomenal open world. Red Dead Online does many things extremely well: the ability to create your own character, many interesting game systems linked to progression, the inclusion of all of the main game systems, and the ability to utilise an even bigger area of the map for exploration. Matchmaking missions and solo activities are all fun and in keeping with the spirit of the main game. But for players wishing to experience player versus player experiences, it becomes apparent that unless you want to spend an extremely long time playing and grinding your way to the most powerful weapon types, or getting your ass kicked all the time, players who spend real money will have access to the best the game can offer more quickly, although all of these items are also locked behind level progression, which is probably not going to be rapid enough for many players. There is also a fair amount of griefing in the game, as more immature players have nothing better to do with more advanced and weaponized characters, and will often go around in posses attempting to ruin the enjoyment of others. Although this behaviour, which can only be understood by those who participate in it, certainly isn't the sole domain of Red Dead Online. Having said all of the above, Red Dead Online is still something to experience and is predominantly free to play. Putting Red Dead Online aside as a separate entity and returning to Red Dead Redemption 2 has been an extremely rewarding experience. As for the Achilles heel, as with any truly great media experience, such as a great movie or book, once you've experienced it, replaying it doesn't have quite the same effect. Yet, replay it you will, and even if it is just to explore the moral choices that Arthur Morgan must make on his extraordinary adventure. Red Dead Redemption 2 is arguably the greatest game released this generation so far, and certainly one of the greatest cinematic game experiences of all time. A truly exceptional gaming experience.
The many miles we walk, the many things we learn, the building of a shrine, only just to burn. That's the way it is. That's the way